Now, let's talk about matters Nairobi. And we are joined by a member of the County Assembly of the Nairobi City County Government, Robert ALAI, MCA Kileleshwa Ward. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Niko salama.
Umezoea kuitwa mheshimiwa sasa?
Yeah, I'm used to it, mwesh. I'm used to mwesh.
It's now the life.
No, I'm used to it now because you can never stop, guys. You know, there's a reason why people call you mwesh. Some are looking to honor and respect you. Some are looking for favors, various favors. They know that if they call you nothing but mwesh, then you might not be very receptive of their ideas. And kila mtu akona njia yake, kwa nini anakuita mwesh? But it's very funny, you know, because the name Mheshimiwa, in all this chaos of politics, on Saturday we were somewhere for a football match, and it was chaotic. You see, nobody recognized the Mheshimiwa unless you gave all the money, and if we didn't have enough money to give everybody, then it was Vita. But you know, that's the life you live in this city.
Why?
But you know, yeah.
Why?
You know, because of desperation. You know, when the people come, they feel entitled. Kwamba tulikuelect, sasa chota. But you know, it's because there's a breakdown between what you're supposed to do and actually, you know, the expectations of the citizens is just too much, and sometimes we might not be able to do what they expect us to do, which is to, you know, give them money at every instance. But still, it is a very nice affair. I think it's very hopeful. I think we can do a lot of things to change things.
With money.
Money has to be the center of everything.
City, welcome Muhesh with the day's proverb.
Yes, Muhesh, this week our proverbs
come from
the Republic of Namibia. This was in honor of the passing away of their president. And we thought there's no fitting way to honor this great man, a leader on the continent, and a very great friend of this particular country called Kenya, than to have the Proverbs of the week dedicated to his country. Okay? Darkness conceals the hippopotamus.
Darkness conceals.
Well, you know, there's a way, actually.
It consumes it.
Yes.
No, but you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
You're not
Okay, conceal. Let's go with conceal.
Let's go with conceal, shall we?
Darkness conceals the hippo. Muhesh, what's your interpretation of this one?
I don't know how we should, interpret the hippo. I've not interacted with it so much, except along the River Nyando, where we, you know,
they're no longer there, by the way.
They moved.
They are not.
Very few. Very few.
Very few.
And
There are even crocodiles in River Nyando.
Yeah.
But do you hear of any crocodiles these days?
Not much. In fact, I have not heard of them, you know, because they used to be killed and everybody fight for the meat of the hippos. And nowadays, we don't hear much.
You get a few hippos once in a long
kill
while.
them off.
Yes.
I mean, would do stay if you are the hippo.
No, I would take off.
So darkness conceals that lacking danger. I think that one is the simplest interpretation I can give. Yeah, that there's that lacking danger in the dark, because hippos are also not very good during the day. They don't come out of and also they operate in the very soft areas, I know, from the banks of River Nyando.
And it's very navigable.
And that is very fast. That animal is big and fast. It's very fast. People, they'll tell you that in a soft area, if it's hard ground, then it will not move very fast because of the soft,
it's underfoot.
The underfoot, yeah. But in soft area, it's very fast, and also in what? Very fast.
It will catch up with you.
And it's also very dangerous.
And it's very dangerous. And it has the teeth are very few, but very, it's like a scissors. They cut like a scissors. Yeah, so.
Okay. Which the first time we invited you, among the very first times we're inviting you here as an MCA, you were leading a campaign against noisy neighborhoods.
Noisy neighborhoods.
And in that time, you also mentioned the mushrooming apartments left, right, and center
Yes,
appear
yes.
to be uncontrolled development,
Yes.
especially in your ward,
Yes.
Kileleshwa, and in the neighboring wards, Kilimani, Lavington, and the others. And you were saying, hey, this is a big issue. Before we got, because that's what we want to discuss today, but before we get there, a big disaster happened
Yes.
in Embakasi recently.
Yes.
And, spotlight has been shown on disaster response and the county government's preparedness for the city and all. Comment number one from you, from what happened on that day.
No, I think it's very unfortunate. I have a relationship with Embakasi because that's where I started, actively participating in the community issues. That's where I was the chairman of Embakasi Estate. 5,000 housing units, close to 35,000 residents in one compound of 200 acres. But when I was in that area, Skyline was just being built. And right next to Skyline, Skyline was being built inside the industrial area. And right next to Skyline, there were these small gas refilling stations, which I really, if you can check on my, Facebook and Twitter, you'll see I really opposed them. I said you cannot have this mixed use because it's very dangerous. And I was opposing the development of Skyline as a unit. And also the closest now was Maradi, Skyline, and Tuskys was there. Those are the places which are very populated. Now I even see Quickmart right next to the place there. And one of the reasons I opposed it is because of the waste. I was thinking basic. If it's industry, there are waste. And there is lacking danger in that we don't have a proper disaster management system in this city. So if anything was to happen, people would die. And I said, can we do something and can we oppose? And the OCPD, I was in the neck of the OCPD. And I can, stand here and appreciate the help I got from then Police IG, Boynet, who was a very good friend of Embakasi Estate. And he personally called the OCPD on my presence and said that, can you please help the gentleman, try to see ways, because I see the interest is not anything which cannot be done by us. Can we ensure that these people, if they want to build, they follow the proper law? It might not be him to do it. The MCA is there, then Michael Ogada, and the MP was then John Omondi. But can we ensure that it's done? And when the OCPD didn't even listen to the IG moved him to Marakwet, and another OCPD, and the thing stopped. No,
what stopped?
Increase of, because Skyline was building a lot of estate. So at some point they stopped building because there was a bit of a pushback from some of us. And the argument was, if anything was to happen, what mechanisms do you have to control it? And this is why I think they even opened the back gate. But it's very unfortunate what happened recently, and it's not only isolated to Embakasi, it's almost everywhere in Nairobi. We don't have proper disaster response preparedness. We don't have the mechanism to control. If even today the smallest of the buildings was burning, it will be very hard to control that. Even if we had somebody drowning, it will be very hard. Just recently, I think early last week, I think on Monday, we had a very unfortunate incident in the residential apartment compound where we stay. A 3-year-old child drowned in the pool. And you see, it was very painful for us parents because, the 3-year-old child who drowned was playing with my kids. So my kids felt like this was a brother. So if you are going to tell them that, so-and-so has died, they are traumatized. So it traumatized the whole apartment complex that how it happened. Then we started investigating and so we realized that these people are living alone. They are from South Sudan. The eldest from the family where they were living was 19. So these were basically kids living themselves with the house girl. The kids were not getting good instructions from the house girl could not control them. You see, and also there are a lot of lapses in the estate management. You see, then we say that even basics, just disaster awareness. Just saying that please don't go, because the child died at 7:30 p.m. So the child was out very late, beyond the 6 p.m. Everybody should be inside. Also, The pool area should have been closed by 3 or 4 p.m.
Yep, yep,
Also they should be, the watches should be. But basically, we are sitting dark, and this comes to the smart city call that Nairobi must get to a smart city. Level where everything can be monitored, the disaster response can be actually, the citizen can interact with the data they get. If there was a data leak there with a smart city, you'll have systems telling you that, warning that whole area that there's a possible gas leak in this area, and it's concentrated in this area. The disaster response led by the Nairobi fire would immediately activate and call in the police and even the army if the police doesn't have the capacity and the fire. But basically, the fire should be able to have the capacity to contain the basics of such a small disaster because it was not a big thing. But it was big that people died.
It was big enough for life to be lost. That became a very big thing.
It became a very huge thing.
But ALAI, the things you speak about and saying that we should do or we should have in place by now for Nairobi, a city that's decades old, and also, certain things, there's certain processes that Nairobi has already gone through. What should it look like? And I think we keep asking that question. And I refuse to believe that it's for lack of resources that some of these things are not done.
And Nairobi is rich.
Whether we want to talk disaster management on its own, and I know that there are elements of a national involvement that take place here. But if we're looking at a capital city and certain things that should be put in place as insurance buffers just in case something happens, what is the state of the city right now? If things were to go belly up, essentially what are we saying? Nairobi would sink?
I think Nairobi would sink. I think Nairobi would really suffer. Even a small, I think 6 point something Richter scale tremor or earthquake would be very disastrous to this city because we don't pay close attention to the basics of preparedness, and the preparedness starts with us. How we build things, how we get to approve structures, what kind of structures we approve. Even in the residential areas, do we give allowance for emergency services? If there was an ambulance today to come, even a place, let's say Kileleshwa, because we don't want to talk about areas where we think that it has degenerated so much. Let's say Kileleshwa and maybe Karen. Do you have spaces for ambulances to properly respond to emergencies? Let's say in a school, cooperative universities in Karen, there's some in Kilesha Primary School, that area. We don't have enough resources or infrastructure to allow emergency services. The digging of boreholes along Raptor Road, we have in a compound, I think is half an acre, and they have dug 4 or 5 boreholes. They started with 150, they went to 180, 200. They're looking for water. There's not enough aquifers down here. But they're still digging different places in that same compound. So imagine if there would be a tremor in a place, let's say we have a place of 1 square kilometer, and you have 200 or 100 boreholes in that area. I believe, I'm not a geologist, but I believe there would be something.
Actually, let me lend credence what you're saying. There's a city called Jakarta. One of the things it's known for, it's where the seaside, is boreholes. And that city is sinking. Literally. Every year, it sinks. Meaning, you give it enough time, it'll be submerged.
Attributed to the boreholes.
Yes, the boreholes have contributed significantly. It's a borehole city. Yes. So, what you've actually done, you've interfered with the structure of the soil.
Yes.
That holds all those things together. That very simply put from a layman's term. But, Mheshimiwa, do I hear you to be saying that the assembly who are mandated to oversight all these things has suddenly become helpless and toothless and that they are unable to carry out their oversight functions?
I work from City Hall. Okay, I work from City Hall, and it's a City Hall for a reason, because everybody is there to cut deals.
Everybody
is there to cut deals.
All MCAs,
permanent staff.
You're one MCA.
We are talking about planning. we are talking about planning, and in planning, the CEC planning is one SG Mwangi. This SG Mwangi has been there for I don't know how many years.
There where?
City Hall.
In City Hall as a staff, then now as a CEC.
So he's experienced.
He's experienced.
A little more than experience.
A little more than experience.
Yes.
If today you
Institutional memory.
if today you are if today you are to look for the asset register of Nairobi City County, you will not get. It is in the head of one person called SG Mwangi. If you to ask SG Mwangi today, that there was a time last year we were looking for on this approval issue. If you are to ask how many buildings have been approved from the time we got into office, let's say just the period where we have been in office, you'll get close to 700. Kitambo, there used to be a register. If today Eric Latiff wanted to go to City Hall to know who approved this building and why, you'd get. But now you can't get. Because people are hiding that data. They know the process was wrong. The various activities which were to precede the issuance of the approvals were not done. So it is being hidden completely. You cannot get that data. There used to be a register, in fact a black book, because it used to be manual. You'll go there and peruse and say that, okay, I'm looking for data about Kilaleshwa. You say it's approval number so and so. So let me just go to the register numbers. You'll get and say, this is the person who approved it. The committee sat in this period. It is not happening. This is under
Are you saying the register does not exist, or the register exists but is not publicly available?
The register does not exist. They don't put it in the register.
Okay.
They don't put it in the register. The approval is being done by a single individual. This individual is a very junior planning officer. You see? It's being done by a junior planning officer. There is a chief officer planning. Does not know how this approval is being
Are they authorized to approve this
person who is supposed to do the
this very junior planning officer who's now approving?
Yes.
Do they have the authority to approve?
No, they don't have the authority to approve. The person who is supposed to be doing the approvals, after all the considerations, after all the departments, lands has checked that everything, that land is owned by the private individual. I've checked the environmental team. I've checked that NEMA's boxes have been ticked. SAWA, the roads and transport, I've checked that, the road allowance, the 6 meters beacon, allowance, 3 meters outside and 3 meters inside have been allowed. Nobody ticks those boxes. So what they do is that mtu anaenda NEMA, ensures how they get the NEMA certificate. Nobody cares. Then they come to City Hall and get the approval. So and the person who is supposed to issue the final approval is supposed to be the CEC. You see? But because the CEC doesn't want his hand to be seen on this, they have delegated this activity to a very junior planning office.
And procedurally. Unlawfully. And unfortunate to say, but with the express permission of State House. State House?
Yes,
State House.
That's why you see.
Let's even start with the governor, who is above all of these people.
No, the governor, the governor is helpless on this. I can tell you for a fact.
What does that mean? I'm sorry. We're talking about the chief executive of the county.
Yeah.
And we are saying that this individual is helpless when it comes to the running of the county.
Yeah.
Essentially, what you're saying is that everybody is about the business of everything except running the county in the way in which it ought to run. And for some reason, this bypasses the eyes or the imagination of the person who's been elected to make sure all the things that are happening don't happen. I don't understand.
Sakaja is elected to take care of the affairs of Nairobi. But it's very unfortunate in the country of greed that I think State House has found a very clear way to blackmail the governor and hold our revenue, but also carry out planning approvals. Because this is what you are being told. That is the video says in Atoka State House. And the last time you saw, the Chinese Developers Station came from State House and went to Sakaja. They didn't come from Sakaja and went to State House. We saw their existence in State House.
First in State House and then here.
Then Sakaja.
Back to City's question before we go to the break.
Yes.
Are you saying that the County Assembly of Nairobi, in which you belong, is helpless?
Is helpless. Because, we are the County Assembly.
What have you tried to do and failed?
We have tried to investigate. First, the many approvals and developments are happening in 4 wards. That's South Sea, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, and Parklands High Ridge. And of these 4 wards, none of the MCAs from the 4 wards is member of, by good practice, at least 1 or 2 of the MCAs in the most affected should be members of planning committee.
They're not.
They're not. And it's by design.
Whose design?
The design of the assembly.
Okay.
Because they want to enable the excesses of the executive. You see?
But Muchme, do you know what you're saying?
Yeah.
That assembly is dominated by Azimio.
It's dominated by Azimio.
Yes. So you are saying that Azimio are aiding and abetting the executive. That's what you're saying.
Yes,
State House.
Yes. We are aiding and abetting
State House.
the mismanagement of Nairobi city by the UDA. You know, this is a conflict I'm getting. We are fighting UDA, but in the Nairobi County Assembly, we are enabling UDA to mess the city. That is basically what I'm saying.
Eric, so we go for a break.
Okay.
Yes.
Hiya. The MCA for Kileleshwa Ward in Nairobi, Robert ALAI, is our guest. There's a lot that's going on in Nairobi. There have been complaints that we had Cherotich say here last week, and she's been raising this issue of the uncontrolled development that's just mushrooming all over Nairobi, in Kilimani, in Kileleshwa, in, like you've said, those wards, South Sea, Parklands High Ridge. We see that. We've seen that in Embakasi as well. We are seeing that across, and we're wondering, so how is this happening under the watch of the executive and the assembly in Nairobi? And you're saying it's all being orchestrated by greed.
By greed. It's the underlying enabler is a greed. You know, somebody has been an expert. You'll find, you know, because, you know, I don't want to accuse only the Chinese developers. They are the Somali developers. You have the Kikuyus, the Luos, and everybody. You know, we have very many developers there, and they're not limited to Chinese. You have Boranas and so on. The Chinese Developers Association, which you see existing, I can tell you for a fact that I asked them to register the association, because one thing which is happening with the development in Nairobi is developing very fast, and especially now the residential areas, but all public infrastructure is remaining in the very sorry state. The schools, the police stations, you know, the churches, the community areas, you see. And I told them that if today a Kenyan meets a Chinese along the road walking, how do they perceive that Chinese? What do they see? They see somebody who is out there, maybe a forklift driver. They don't see the soft power of the Chinese. You know, the soft side of Chinese. They see the rough side, engineers moving at movings, but they don't see their soft side, the human touch, where they have been able to pay hospital bills, bursaries. They have been able to build a school, a classroom, 1 or 2. You see, and this is why I told them that, you know, if you are going to do this in Kileleshwa, and I can tell you for a fact that the best governor, we have had 5 governors in Nairobi. The governor who did this best is Evans Kidero. He said that he is the one who created this mess. But one aspect of that mess he created, and he did it very well, is CSR. He said that if you are going to do this development, but you are going to do for me CSR. So you'll find schools like Karibangi North Primary School, built from scratch. But he just gave them land. Told, I want you to build that from scratch.
Who?
Evans Kidero.
Who built the school?
One of the developers.
So you can do whatever you want on this side, but just build.
It is not doing whatever you want. Imagine this people, because some of them are doing projects. A simple apartment complex, you can see it's simple, but if it's 400, 500, it's close to 3 billion shillings. If you are going to spend 3 billion, can I give you a project worth 30 million to do for CSR? And the developer would not see a problem in that. That's the argument he was putting. Can I put 0.5? He put, I think, a percentage, 0.5 or 1%, yeah, of the cost of your development. If one developer is not able to do it himself, then let's do. If you are going to, have you gone to Upper Hill High School? Upper Hill is the most affluent part of corporate, you know, space in Nairobi. But go to Upper Hill High School. Can't the corporate around that place, you know, just collect even 1 million shillings each? You see? and go and develop this. Just build a laboratory or a dormitory in that school, because that school is congested. Is the state in those dorms and classrooms very sorry, but is the most affluent part of Nairobi.
Mheshimiwa, what I hear you saying, please correct me if I'm wrong, is essentially, so look, there have been complaints that we see all of these developments coming up around the city that could essentially go against what a building code that had been set by the same city just a few years ago, right? But what you're saying is, these folks can come in essentially, number one, they're going against what the building code is for developments around, if we say it's a 4 to 5 development and we have now, 18 stories, etc. But we're essentially saying you can go ahead and do that so long as you then come on this other side and develop another side of the city that is in one.
Not so long as CSR used to be an aspect of business licenses in this country. When did it stop? If you are to approve anything, the government used to ask you, what are you doing as CSR? So that's why Safaricom set up Safaricom Foundation. They didn't set up that it was an aspect of business licensing. You see, KCB Foundation, all the corporates you see listed and having good practices, even Standard as a foundation, they're doing, which is very active. But this whole expressway was built at a cost of how much?
Too much.
Then this expressway, have you seen even an office of the assistant chief they have built anywhere? Why is that CSR missing?
Also,
the railway from Mombasa to Kisumu built schools, churches, administration blocks along the way when it was being built. It is not so as to enable you. There's just that, you see, you are doing this. But tell me what we have been doing to the community.
What are you saying, Robert? That we license?
Not that. No, let me tell you. Not as long as we get.
Because you've gone ahead to say that in the administration of Evans Kidero, a lot of this mess started.
He's the one who created the whole mess.
Procedural licensing of the approval of all these
high-rise developments.
But then you're saying, at least.
No,
there was a development of a school.
No, he did an aspect of CSR. I think he realized. He says that you are going to approve. Let's. I don't know which is the tallest. There's a.
Why are you going to approve? Should we not be starting there?
You have approved them.
Yeah. But
these things you have approved.
Should we not be starting there?
Yes.
That we should not be approving them.
Let me ask you today. You have approved them, and they are existing there. They are standing. For me as a leader first, I ask, because I represent the people, I ask first, this approval which was done, it was done under which process? It's illegal, yes.
Okay.
You go and tell the governor, what are you going to do? Say, no, we are not going to approve more. Even when they're still approving, they're saying they're not going to do approve. But this one which is existing, let's say you're not going to approve more, it is existing. So it's existing, you allow it to exist, yes. But in this business licensing, there should be an aspect of CSR. Where was CSR which was done by this developer?
Okay. Mheshimiwa, you know what I hear you to be saying?
Yes.
That we have actually not just allowed, we have normalized bribery.
Yes.
We're calling it CSR.
Yes.
We have normalized wrongdoing so long as you pay penance in the form of a CSR.
Yeah.
Yet, why it is wrongdoing, the ordinances that guard developments in a place like a city are supposed to be there for posterity. Now, what we've done, we've damned posterity.
Yes.
Because if I were to ask, the open areas that were supposed to be in Kilelesho, how many of them actually even exist?
None.
Precisely. Grounds and land that were attached to schools, even the playground, many of them have been taken up. I am simply saying, we are sacrificing at the altar of convenience, literally, the future of the city. The CSR bit, I can understand. When you are in a situation where everything is going wrong, you're saying, let there be a little help from people. But the real help isn't the CSR. The real help is to ensure that there's something for them to inherit. You see, we had something to inherit. Now, we are saying that the generation coming after us will have nothing. Because no space whatsoever. You can't have a city that has space. Now, you know what will happen? somebody will come along and he'll look at these ordinances and he'll decide, I think we're going to have to bring down some buildings because we do need an open area here.
Yeah.
If you recall, in the Moi era, this madness was there when they wanted to take Uhuru back. Remember?
In fact, Moi started it all.
When they
I can tell you pieces of land which are supposed to be schools if you go to the master planning, if you go to Survey of Kenya. But because somebody built for Moi a tall tower in the city, they were given that piece of land.
I remember in those days, schools didn't have titles. It was it was government land.
Yes.
So one could simply just say, this is government land and can I be allocated? It could be allocated. I am aware because I taught in a school where somebody wanted to take the playground of the girls. I was and I remember a smart headmistress, she's now passed away, led the girls to march the provincial headquarters. That is what put a halt. Now we are saying that we will give away the playgrounds, we will give away certain social amenities, so long as they help us build a school somewhere. And I'm saying, why don't they just do what they're supposed to do?
I think you're not understanding this argument. My argument is very simple.
Oh, I've understood it perfectly.
Yeah. I don't think.
Robert, I've actually understood your
You're
argument
put so long as it's not there, and that's why I say you have not understood it.
Okay, explain to me why I haven't understood it.
Today, even let's not deal with the developers. Today, you are going to license City Muga to be doing business A.
Yes.
And City Muga forms part of the wealthy part of the society.
Yes.
He has some 1 billion to spend.
Yes.
Where is the CSR? Even if City Muga meets all the conditions, where is the CSR?
So I think what you're saying, Robert, so what you're saying essentially is, I think there are two issues here.
Yes.
We are combining the issues where we shouldn't be.
Yes.
You're saying that anybody who comes in and is doing any kind of commercial business in terms of development, there should be a CSR aspect.
Yes, there must be.
You're not saying hopefully. You're hopefully not saying that if somebody comes in and they go against codes, that we're essentially sanitizing their bad behavior by asking them to then build a school here or open green spaces. So you're not combining the two.
If I was to combine the two, I would not even appear in this radio station.
Right. I would have been a bit worried about that.
Because I think Kenyans forgot and think that as long as you have the money and you want to operate a business, then you can do a business without ever giving some return to the society.
Okay.
And this is how you do. You bridge the wealth gap.
Can we put the CSR aside for a minute? Because I do agree that it is extremely important to do that.
Yeah.
But here we are looking at a situation where everything seems to have gone to blazes.
Yes.
And that approvals are being given for anybody to come and do whatever they want, so long as somebody
and a good number, I think half of them
has
are
been
building
put in
without
the
approval.
pocket. You yourself have admitted, has admitted that City Hall is just one huge commercial bribery enterprise.
It's
coven for chaos.
Yes.
But I think the highlight here needs to be on that we have a city that's essentially going to the dogs, and there's an assembly in place.
Yes, there's an assembly, but also there are people.
There are members of parliament within Nairobi, the city. There is a governor who you've said this morning that things have gone over his head. And then there, collectively.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. That how can we repurpose the focus to be that this city ought to be running in a way? There's a reason why there's a code. There's a reason why there are requirements and standards. But we're essentially saying that those standards and those requirements are not being followed. They're not being met. And it's okay.
No.
Why are people there in those positions where they should be doing certain things not being held to account?
Yeah, because
why?
If you had to ask me, and you saw when Embakasi happened, I said that if we are to start arresting people, start by arresting the head of compliance and enforcement at City Hall. The CEC in charge of the docket should be going. The chief officer in charge of the docket. Before you get even to the energy, now the sector. Because all these plans, even a kiosk here, is an aspect of planning. Where is the planning people at the city hall in this? Why are they not being arrested? I've seen DCI has posted whoever they are looking for.
Yeah.
They are NEMA officials. You are looking for people from NEPRA. You are looking for employees, watchmen you have arrested there. But where are the people who are supposed to be ensuring that this city is well planned? If scenario happened, is there anybody from City Hall who was arrested? Anybody from City Hall? You know, that's what I want to hear, because this planning is a delegated duty. So why is it that we are starting with the ministry or the sector, but you are not starting with the approval, the planner who approved this? If today a building collapses, you are going for NCA
and the developer.
But you are not going for an official of Nairobi City County
Who gave
the approval, because this is the weakest link. If today, let me tell you, you just go in front of the Standard here and set up a kiosk, you will not last 2 hours. Those guys will rain on you, and the people will rain on you at Nairobi City County. You see, why are we missing them?
Forgetting that they ought to have been there
They have an eye. There's a sub-county admin who is very powerful there. There's a ward admin there. Those people are the enforcement team to hata saizi ujitokeze too. You know, it's one of the simplest thing you can do. You can leave your house with flyers. You are a hustler. You said you want to start distributing flyers around the roundabout. Those kanjos will rain on you thoroughly. You will ask yourself, who made them aware of my existence in the short period of time? You see, but somebody is operating an illegal LPG refilling facility along next to a very high. Then you tell me that, these people, it is not their duty, or somebody. No,
so Robert, there is a planning committee in the county assembly in Nairobi.
Yes,
right?
Which is supposed to be oversighting this.
It should be oversighting this function.
Yes.
Has it failed?
It has failed in a great way. That planning committee is just to.
Has the plenary of the county assembly sought answers from this committee?
Yes. Yeah. I think because we are going back over Embakasi.
Not on Embakasi.
Over this, there
have been very many issues.
Yes,
about planning. That's just like you've said. Many issues about planning that you have raised.
Yes.
Has this matter been raised on the floor of the county assembly? Has a question been asked to the planning committee? Has it failed to satisfactorily answer that question?
Yes.
And has the assembly then discussed the failure of this committee, of its own committee? Before we even go, just like you were saying, before we go to the ministry,
among the committees of the national, the county assembly, I think 21 or so, the sectoral committees. We have select and sectoral. The sectoral committees, I think planning has the highest number of questions asked. From me personally, I think I've asked around 30 questions in that floor of the assembly. Only one has been answered since September 2022. Only one. They never call you. Anytime you give them a question, they go and use that question as a reason now to go out and look for the people who are offending. You see, a building is existing next to Arboretum. There's a building there, very narrow, almost existing, I think, in a piece of land which is 5 meters by 10 meters. It's very narrow. There's a minimum size of land which can be titled. You cannot title any piece of land. That even hata ni sehemu unaweza kuweka chair, you can title. But this place is so small. But you find, and it's on riparian land. There's not even allowance for riparian land for 30 meters. Now you found they have built a structure there. I ask myself that we removed a police petrol station here. They went to court and won. But this one now is built right on the river. Who allowed it? And because the person was a classmate, the person who is doing the thing was a classmate of the chief officer planning. Every time the planning committee goes around and just collects money from the offending individual.
So who should we as the residents of Nairobi, who should the voters of Nairobi hold accountable for all this mess?
I think we need to hold the MCAs accountable, and we need to hold the governor accountable. Because what is happening is evil. it will affect, the ecosystem. Like now, if I tell you that small building there, it will affect the ecosystem of Arboretum as a habitat for birds and, all that flora and fauna is there. Security for State House, now I don't know, but when you go to planning, they tell you the Nairobi River behind that place was downgraded to a stream. So somebody can build an mpaka on top of the river. Because in a planning, somebody went behind your back
and
procedurally and downgraded that thing into a stream. So they say, it's in a stream. I say, but it's a river. No, this is a stream. So according to our document, we can build up to inside of it.
Mheshimiwa, I am still stuck on that matter of the CSR, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Some of the entities that we see putting CSR into practice are some of the embassies we have.
Yeah.
You'll find that their governments, through the agencies attached to that government, provide development aid. But as part of CSR, there are other things that they do. They contribute to this, they contribute to this.
Yes.
But it is usually things that the citizenry actually want and something they need and something that has been wanting for a while. Now, that the Chinese contractors listen to you and form themselves into association is a wonderful thing. Now, instead of build this, since they have plans of what they want to do, is it possible to structure this CSR so that it meets the actual needs? Not just build a school and build a church and build a mosque. And no. Things that people will tell you we need. For instance, Kileleshwa. Again, where's the open space in Kileleshwa? A place where I can actually go and sit and do nothing. But land was there for it. Because if there was land for schools and land for all these things, there was land for it.
There was land.
So what's your CSR angle to it?
My CSR angle is very simply this. If the CSR is to be useful, first of all, it has to be something that is not just one-off. It has to be part of the bigger plan, because these guys also have a big plan of what it is they want to do.
Which guys?
The developers. Yeah, they don't just want to build one unit. They have an idea of what it is that they want to do. So, is the CSR in tandem with that planning, so that even you have a large-scale idea of what it is that you'd like to see done?
I think you people never let me explain why I really asked the Chinese to form an association. CSR was just one aspect of it. But also the fact that, all this development, all the fight we're putting for, they think that we are fighting them. We're even fighting for them. Because there used to be an approval. They allowed in Zone 4, which is Kilimani and Kileleshwa existing in, allowed is 1 story, ground plus 3. So it's supposed to be 4.
In Kileleshwa?
In Kileleshwa. Ground plus 3. And Kilimani. So ground plus 3. So in that ground, Eric was scared to Kwanza. In that ground plus 3, now Kidero went to 5, then went to 7, then went to 12. You see? So imagine Eric Latiff bought a penthouse on the 12th floor to have a proper view, living with the family in Nairobi. But now, and you bought it at very expensive rate, maybe 45 or 50 million. But now somebody has built next to you, the Makwi, along Othaya Road, 30 floors. You cannot see the sun.
Imagine.
This property yako, which you bought at 45, somebody is giving you a value of 28 million.
Yeah.
You see? So even their development is losing value. A 1-bedroom house used to cost 8-9 million.
Is this association telling all their members, let's not go beyond
I tell
ground
them,
plus
can
4,
they also...
or is the association just allowing them to do ground plus 20?
No, I'm telling you, in the association, I'm asking them that you people, can you agree that now you have bribed the city hall people and they're allowing you to do everything. But because every new development is cannibalizing the older ones, can you agree to say that in this area we won't go beyond this? Because us...
My God in heaven.
Sawa.
No.
Time
no.
measure.
No.
Time measure.
No.
Sawa. Mr. Hyena, can you at least agree to only eat one leg? Don't eat the whole thing.
Yes.
Now that you have leave the head.
And we trust that you will do that even after we've gone.
Robert ALAI, MCA Kileleshwa,
Yes.
come again. This conversation must continue. Come again soon.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.